Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We're back again. This time we're going to deal with a Penn Spinfisher. It's the fifth generation, the Spinfisher V 4500. This one belongs to Brandon. I did preview it. I think when I previewed it, it didn't have any line on it. And the reason that the line is there is that when Brandon sent me a note, said that the reel runs pretty smooth, just under cranking, but as soon as you put load on it, it really struggles. And he said he had it to two folks that took a look at it and really couldn't tell him what it was. So I decided I was going to line it up instead of just spinning it. I did put it on, and sure enough, there's a skip. That's a really odd one. I just put 16 ounces of lead on it, a pound, and started cranking, and all of a sudden it really kind of bogged down, which is kind of unusual. So I took the reel apart and did some diagnosis. I'm going to share that with you today. I'm also going to show you how to tune up the entire reel and how to fix this rather unusual one-off problem that I just haven't seen before. So to get started, I like to remove the external pieces and parts of the reel. I'll start with the spool, and as I'm doing that, a couple of things. One, you'll notice I have a protective glove on, and that's to keep the lubricants and that off. The second is I use a parts tray. It's just the bottom in this case of, I think that was a washer fluid thing from an automobile refill jug. But at any rate, whatever you use is fine. Just use them to keep place of the pieces and parts you take off the reel. So I'm going to take the spool and take that off. And then I'm also going to take the time while we're doing this to thank our first responders, our essential personnel, and the employees who are working every day to keep us safe and out of harm's way from this pandemic. So whether it's law enforcement or fire or EMT or any of the medical professions, including healthcare workers, doctors and nurses, long-term care providers, nursing homes, etc. Thank you for all it is that you're doing and putting your lives at risk every day to save ours. All right, so I took the button off this side to see if there was a through screw. Some of the older reels have those, and some of the newer ones do too. In this case it doesn't, which means that the handle comes off in a clockwise direction, and then you can pull that off and put that aside. And then we have 4 screws. So we'll take those case screws out to open up the inner workings so that we can remove the top end of the reel. So the 4500 is a nice size reel. It's kind of right in the middle, right? So you'll have a 2500 type reel, which will be for fresh water. And then you'll go all the way up to the, I think it's the 9500 if I remember, in the Spinfisher series. Might be the 8500, but they're big reels. They're mostly for trolling or offshore. And the 4500 just kind of nests right in the middle. So a lot of times folks will ask me what the ideal reel size is to start with, and I usually point them to a 50 size reel. 4500 is close enough. And the reason for that is that they can adjust so many different things. You can fish them from a boat, you can fish them from the shoreline, pier, a little dock, and you can do a variety of fishing with that, casting, drop fishing, and so on. All right, I took the 4 screws out of this, and I just wanted to make sure they were all the same size. Sometimes they're not. And now we can remove the side plate. And then we can see the inside of the reel. The inside of the reel has the main gear, the bearing, crosswind block, crosswind gear, crosswind block, and then if you rotate this all the way down, you'll expose the 2 screws on the crosswind block that will enable us to take this off and service the top. So this crosswind block is a little different, and believe it or not, that's where our problem is. So let's take the piece off, and after I remove that shaft, I'm going to show you what I found. But the reel itself is sealed. You'll notice we have a kind of an elastic band, sort of a gasket there that rides in a groove of the case, and that's to keep some saltwater intrusion out. And one of the things I don't like about this reel is there is no override for the anti-reverse. So what that means is if you get your crosswind block up top and it gets caught somehow, you're in trouble because you can't backspin it to lower it down. So set your block all the way down on the bottom, hold the block, and then you can remove the main axle shaft, and we can remove the block. That'll enable us to remove the main gear. We can do the crosswind gear while we're at it. That's held in by a big screw. And that's your lower case. And then we're going to go up top and we'll deal with this thing for pliers to take out the gear. We'll clean this case up in addition to the work that we're going to do. And then we're going to come up top here. We're going to remove the set screw that holds the little clamp on there so that the rotor nut does not move. And yeah, they're all on my table, but they'll be in my parts bin in just a moment. I wanted to take the clamp off. We're going to put that in the parts tray. Then I believe this is a 12 millimeter. You can use a deep socket or you can use a wrench. The lip isn't terrible on this one, so you might be able to get by with a wrench doing that. And once you have that rotor nut off, you can remove your rotor. That's too big for my parts tray. And then we can pull the pinion assembly by taking the 3 screws out that hold that clamp. Now before you go too far with that clamp, make sure that that clamp doesn't have anything unusual to it. And by unusual, I mean is there one side that's flat or has an indentation or somehow other component to it that would say it has to go back in a certain direction. Sometimes when you have ramps, trip ramps on the internals of these, sometimes when you have an anti-reverse dog that's running off of it, they do have a clamp modified to give that space to travel. And if you go and put that back the wrong way, your reel won't work properly. All right, doing the same thing here that I did with the case screws. I want to make sure that they're all the same. They are. And here's our clamp, and our clamp is uniform across, so it doesn't look like it matters in terms of which way that goes. So I'll put that in my tray as well. And this is a good time to tell you that if you don't have the schematic, you can go get the schematic at mysticparts.com. And if you do one of the fail-safes, if you will, on this is take pictures along the way. If you take pictures along the way, if you get stuck, you can go back to your pictures. So whether you take it on a cell phone camera or a digital camera, or even do what I'm doing on a video, that'll give you reference points. Okay, we're going to pull the pinion gear and bearing assembly out, and then we're going to go into cleaning, but I want to show you what the issue is with the reel. In order to do that, I'm just going to grab my axle shaft for a moment. And I'm going to give you my crosswind block here. So, it may not show on the camera, I hope it does. But one of the things that's obvious here is that the bushing for the crosswind block is worn. And it's flat-sided. So you may notice here, I've got the full length of a pick. And when I get over here, I hardly have anything short of the head of the screw. So this one travels on the side case by rolling up and down like this. And what's happening is when it gets to the flat side and it has to kind of climb the hill, if you will, to the round side or the higher side, it's stumbling or it's skipping. And that's what the cause of this problem was. So, okay, so good news then. I got the crosswind block in for this reel. And as we mentioned, the problem with this reel is that there's a little circular piece on the crosswind block that is worn away. And that's caused this to ride erratically when you crank under load. If you are not cranking under load, you're fine. But as soon as you get anything on, it hits a flat spot, and it becomes burdensome to power through that. So I had to go order the crosswind block from mysticparts.com. They are a regional Penn parts provider. And if you need Penn parts, just go to mysticparts.com. They have them for you. Okay, so we're going to take out the old one. And this is where we were mentioning before. If you take a look at this, you have a flat spot. Wide on one side, flat on the other. And that's because of the wear on this, this crosswind block stud. So we're going to go ahead and remove the bushing. And you can see how that's gotten all squared up there and what's causing the problem. So let's go ahead and put the other one on then. I'm going to grab that. Just going to use the one piece as a handle. And now we should have a more even distribution on that bush, and we should be able to rectify the problem. So if this is choppy, it's because I've been waiting a week and a half for the parts, and if it comes in at a different side, then I apologize. But we're much more even in the throw of this one. So we can go ahead and loop the back of this. Make sure you get grease in the channel. Turn it around so that we can get it onto the stud. Make sure you rest the bushing on that little rider. Back through the top with your axle shaft. And again, all of this has already been serviced except for the piece with the bush there. Line it up so that you have your two holes for your crosswind block screws. This is always a challenge when I try to do it for the camera. Things tend to fall out of place. But we'll give it another try. This is kind of the ultimate fail-safe in that it has the two crosswind block screws. Sometimes some of these real manufacturers only put the one in. I've been using a little grease on the tip of the screwdriver here just to help hold that screw. A lot of viewers have written in saying that I should know that trick. I do. I don't use it all the time, but I am aware of it. And thought I would show it there just so that everybody becomes familiar with it. All right, put that side plate back on. And we're going to give it the test, see how it does. It's my expectation that we've solved the issue here. When I put the side plates on, I like to alternate the locations of the screws as I'm tightening them down to make sure that I do get a uniform pressure on both sides. So I kind of do an X pattern. I did the top on the one side, coming over to the bottom on the other. I'll go back up to the top on that side. And then we'll go to the other side, and we should have a nice functioning reel now. And of course you won't see the ultimate test, but that's where I'm going next. I'm going to go bring some of that line out, tie a weight to it, and make sure that it doesn't struggle. Because this was kind of an oddball one. I haven't seen it too much where you get a circumference here that's bad, but we did. All right, handle on. Spin it. Huh. Very nice. All right, we'll give it a try by testing that out, but we won't be able to do that on the video as I gotta go string this up on a pole. But I did want to let you know that that's how you service your Spinfisher V. This is the 4500. It's a nice reel overall, and it had an oddball problem there with that little stud. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please hit the notifications so that you see all of the videos that I post. I post frequently, and if you enjoy these types of things, it would be a shame to miss some of those. So please hit the notifications. If you have a question on this reel or any reel in particular, it doesn't have to be a spinning reel. It can be anything. I work on all of them. Leave it in the comment section. I'll try and help you out. And finally, if you have a reel that needs service, I do repair those by mail. So if you're interested in that, send me an email to the information on the business card that follows, and I will be happy to provide you with that service information. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.